This suit stayed with me for 4 years and it was integral to, well, before I completely get to that, let me start at the beginning. My name's Salvatore, a 9 to 5 office worker, someone that probably one of the only people I know that seems to still wear a suit and a tie and a shirt every day to work, Monday to Friday, and then also someone who likes to sip espresso, ride his bike to work, lace up his running shoes, cross the finish line faster than he ever thought possible. I'm a storyteller, a romantic, someone who likes to go on with adventures with his girlfriend and have the best time, and also, share stories with you of kind of things I wish I knew when I was trying to start out on things, to kind of give you inspiration and hope to conquer mountains and conquer life through these messages I share. So with this episode, I kind of, or I guess video, so to speak, I wanted to kind of take it back as I reflected on, well, I don't have the full suit, but as you kind of just saw, these suit pants have gotten to the end. And I'm pretty sad about that because if we kind of see here, I mean, there's a big gaping hole that cannot be, stitched and fixed. But I kind of wanted to pay homage to something like this and really be grateful for this item of clothing. And I kind of reflect on it that the whole purpose of this is to kind of show how it started my corporate journey, which for you, those of you listening that kind of are starting, being a corporate job or starting an area or field that you're not quite familiar in, I kind of want this to serve as hope, inspiration, and something to kind of utilize to give yourself that confidence that you can really use to kind of do your best, put your best foot forward. So with that, I kind of want to start at the very beginning with how this was kind of integral or part of my very first job. See, the thing is, I came out of law school, I was able to get into a position where I had a graduate position at like a tax advisory team, doing kind of like tax advice more or less. Never had done tax law at university, so I was completely out of my depth, and I had that feeling of, well, as you know, kind of that like imposter syndrome. So I was kind of feeling that. But the thing is, I was able to get this suit, and wearing it kind of helped me to feel that I kind of knew, like, I kind of looked the part, and that I would kind of like figure things out along the way. And it kind of gave me confidence that people kind of think I'm not meant to be there. So it was kind of, as a first starting point, kind of really helpful for getting over that first feeling of like, the imposter syndrome, to say, should I really be here? Do I deserve to be here? Will I do well? Will they find me out? So that's why I kind of like found the suit really interesting in that part. And at the start, I kind of didn't always wear the tie. It was probably maybe 6 months into it where I actually did decide to wear the tie. And I will talk about the exact brand and suit, But I guess as a starting point with your first job, I'd recommend that it be a suit that is simply of this, like a charcoal, which is like grey, a very dark grey, or a navy. I will argue that charcoal is probably a little bit more corporate. I would not say going with a black suit for business. It just seems too funeral-esque. And I think the kind of charcoal is that nice middle ground. And the great thing about the charcoal suit is that it kind of would go with almost anything I would pull out or wear, so to speak. So I guess kind of at this first job, people would kind of, look at me in my suit and, make jokes sometimes to say, why are you wearing a suit? Like, why are you wearing a tie? What are you going for a job interview? So I'd have comments like that, which was really interesting because kind of at the start, it was this feeling of, well, maybe like, I didn't really understand why they were doing that. And I'm glad that I actually did stick it out and decide to wear the suit and kind of was quick on my feet to say, I'm wearing this because, I have my reasons X, Y, Z. And then they kind of like was able to understand that, I did what I did. And then eventually that kind of became more part of my brand at work, wearing the suit, wearing the shirt, wearing the tie. So kind of I became more comfortable in doing so. Whereas if I'd kind of just worn the suit intermittently or kind of, not worn it with the tie, it would have felt sloppy to me. And I'm someone like very particular, like I've got all my shirts, perfectly ironed for the week. I've got all my pants like pressed as well, all hanging up. The hangers between them are very perfectly spaced. But I guess that's kind of the concept of how it was kind of important for the first job, your stepping stone. And then it was really interesting because I think the next most pivotal thing about this suit, what I'm really grateful for and what I used it for, was actually for my first official or job, next kind of job, a job interview that I took somewhere else. I didn't ultimately go for the position, but I found it very interesting because when I took that interview and I wore that suit, so in my mind I was like, okay, I'm wearing that great charcoal grey suit. We're going to wear a white shirt, and I was going to wear a navy textured tie, like a silk tie, of course, with a black belt and then black boots, nicely shined and clean is important. So I kind of had that ensemble in my mind of what to wear. And I think I had a tie pin that my girlfriend had gotten me for when I graduated law school, which is, became admitted as a lawyer. And then basically, like, that was the ensemble, right? And I kind of decided to, wear that to the interview. And the people interviewing me were very impressed with how I dressed and made a point about it to say, the standard of the office. And they heard that I was coming in with a tie, so they all wore a tie as well, those interviewing me. And I was able to speak with confidence. I felt quite natural in the suit. The conversation didn't feel like I had to kind of speak up for myself per se. I was able to kind of just reflect like what I was doing because I was always using that suit when I was doing my work anyways. So it kind of just became a natural extension of who I was at that point. And I think that was really interesting because even though there were a couple of people vying for that position, I was able to kind of get it. Ultimately, I did turn it down, but that was kind of the first taste of kind of something like that, and having the idea of how to dress and conduct yourself and have that confidence, going from the imposter syndrome to kind of being confident enough in the suit and your own ability and building your confidence, was able to kind of leverage like my first, I think it was a pay rise of between $10,000 and $15,000. So that was kind of like quite impressive to kind of feel that off of that, I was able to have that happen to me. So it was kind of like the phase in the story, like, so you got the first job, the interview that I first turned down, and then there was the second interview. And this is really interesting. This is obviously with another employer. And with this second interview, it's really interesting because what I'd done here was my company that I worked for at the time, the first one, wasn't really fond of the whole working from home thing. So I did actually end up getting an interview with an organization that seemed to be more aligned with where I wanted to head in the projection of kind of my tax career. So I was kind of really excited to do that. And then what I ended up doing was I ended up booking out a meeting room, and I just basically had that myself. And it was funny, obviously I wore the same. So I wore the same thing as I wore to the first interview, the charcoal suit, white shirt, and navy textured tie, silk, of course. Same, boots combination, black boots, black belt, make sure you match your leathers. So that was important. And I think I even wore this watch as well. So I kind of had that frame set up, and one of the partners of the firm was trying to come into the room, and I said, no, I've got a meeting, I've booked this. And even though it was with clients, he kind of respected that I was in the room, as that kind of came up during the interview that someone was trying to kind of impede it, but I wasn't like kind of going to move because I was confident that I booked the time and that yada, yada, yada. But I guess the point is that kind of helped me to stand my ground. And that suit was important because it kind of gave me the confidence to, again, apply for a job that I was more wanting to get. And it kind of made it feel that the conversation I was taking in terms of how I was explaining what I'd done had done in tax of recent, my experience and how it would be relevant for this organization, was able to kind of get me to that point where I was like, okay, I came across it very well. And then that gave me so much relief because basically that was really important because I feel the suit had been with me throughout this journey. The suit had been with me for my first job, my interview, my second interview at another place that I really wanted, which ultimately I was able to get. And that kind of is where we look back at my first corporate job, how it was pretty much a way that I effectively doubled my salary almost, which is really cool to kind of have that kind of come through for people to say that, well, how important is a suit? Why would you get a suit? Why would you wear a suit? Like, what's the point? But in this current environment where a lot of people are dressing very casually, it becomes very easy for you to stand out as someone who's very more conservative, maybe professional, and it kind of helps to set you apart as someone who, appreciates those traditional values, and will kind of help you to effectively, show that you are the right person for the job and that you are very comfortable in wearing a suit and that you're able to conduct yourself. And another thing I want to come back to was I wore this suit for important client meetings at my first job. So it just helped give me the confidence that I wouldn't have this imposter syndrome as much when I was speaking to these very wealthy clients and very large and impressive businesses, to kind of explain that I knew what I was talking about and I didn't have to be afraid. And I think what I kind of talked about in another video, but I'll kind of summarize it here, was that for the first interview and the second interview at the different place, if I had just worn the suit with the tie for that interview, I think it really would have showed from a body language point of view. A lot of people say body language doesn't matter and a lot of people can't recognize it, but they actually can. So especially for an interviewer, who's looking at many applicants and seeing kind of who's, comfortable in talking, who's not, who's fidgeting, who's a bit tense. By having this suit that I'd really molded into and developed, helped me develop to carry myself charismatically and with confidence, such that I think I was really showing to them that, hey, I know what I'm doing, I'm the right fit. And I think because I look nice as well, it might have given an extra cognitive bias that, well, this person would be a great fit because look how great he comes across. And that was kind of really interesting that I'd kind of want to drill home. And this is kind of where this takes us to the most important part of the video, and I'd say the ultimate conclusion of kind of why I'm so grateful for this suit. See, the thing is that my third interview came across where I was basically applying for a permanent position in the organization I'm at. And I was a temporary 5 and I was applying for a permanent 5 and 6 position. 6 position, if I would obtain such thing, would be a promotion of, I believe, I think it's $5,000 to $10,000 or so, which is, a pretty decent jump as well. So that's something to be really impressed with. So I was kind of vying for not only to, hold my position, but to see how far I could push in terms of going that next level up. And so the thing is, to set the scene for you and how dramatic this was, there was 2,000 applicants across the country that wanted this job. And of course there were many positions available, but the fact that there were 2,000 and, I was able to go from what I submitted to having an interview. And that's where I, put so much time into preparing for this interview in terms of how to answer, how to structure, how I'm going to explain my examples and why I'm fit for the role and the criteria and everything, which I highly encourage you to do so, to kind of have these mock run-throughs like you're talking on a camera like me now, or just record yourself on webcam to say, hey, this is what I can do, this is how I do it, to kind of get you used to saying that, because you have to be able to convince those sitting behind or if the other side of the room or behind a webcam that are also watching you, if it's an online interview, that you are fit for the role. So obviously I was quite nervous at the time of this interview. And what happened was, as soon as I, interestingly enough, put on the suit of armor, the suit that I knew exactly the combo to wear because I'd worn it so many times before, the suit that I wear on a daily basis, so wearing a tie with a button done up wasn't stressful for me or didn't cause me, issues, really helped to cement that. And also the idea that I had booked a private meeting room to take this interview in this organization, and it kind of made it easy to kind of get set up. But then I had some technical difficulties. But once I kind of, interestingly enough, got over them because I got there early and was organized and wore my suit and then dialed into the meeting, I was in the zone. I was able to absolutely crush every sense of this interview. I had so much confidence. I had so much poise. The culmination of everything I had done in the years was basically getting me to this point where I just executed it with so much, in my mind, objectively, everything that they probably wanted to hear, and the style and how I did so just really brim with, a level of excellence. And it kind of gave me the confidence to also, even though I probably didn't would not ordinarily have the liberty to at the end, because it was a 30-minute meeting, that's all I could say, right? I kind of took a liberty to say, hey, on reflecting on question 3, I kind of want to go back and add an addendum to that to kind of round out the response and why, I exemplified this criteria. And normally they would have said, well, no, we've got so much time. But I was able to kind of position it and proposition to them that, hey, this won't take long. I just want to add it to it. And they actually did let me do so. And that was really interesting because I think that probably would have also helped me. But the fact that I guess I prepared so much, I executed it really, really well. I was confident, I wore the suit. They didn't have any follow-up questions to ask because of I think they could tell how well I was stepping through everything and how practiced I was. It ultimately landed in the position where I was actually successful in the 6. So I actually had gotten promoted, even though a lot of people were telling me that for this process and kind of my greenness in the organization, that would not happen at all. But that's the thing, that's what a lot of people from an average perspective would say. But if you're kind of listening to this and seeking to conquer those mountains and conquer life, you will be able to conquer the expectations of others and kind of conquer what's average and really distinguish and set yourself apart, which is kind of why I'm really thankful for this suit, because it helped me do so well. I was able to really explain how I am 100% in the eyes of the interviewer ready for this position, which is really impressive and kind of left me a little bit shocked to say, wow, that's how far you can really take something if you kind of really put it all together. And of course, I also was given the 5 as well. So I was given the 5 and the 6. So it was really important to get this interview, and it was actually quite stressful in the lead up, because if I didn't get this and my contract for temporary would expire, then that would be it. I'd be out of a job. But fortunately, I came through, everything came together, and it was absolutely fantastic. And I really am grateful for this suit. So this suit actually, I never talked about, but I had it for 4 years. So I started my corporate journey in 2020 to all the way in, I think, July or September 24. September 24 was where the suit said, can't do it anymore. Sorry. Like, that's it. And that's fair enough. Look, a lot of people say you'll get about a year or 2 out of the pants. By rotating the suit with another suit I had, it really helped to kind of give more life to the pants and let them breathe. But now that you've stayed for this long, I really appreciate it. I'm going to share with you exactly where I got this suit from and things to bear in mind when looking for a good suit to invest in. First and foremost, this suit was from a brand called Peter Jackson, which is an Australian brand. And I guess the best way to explain Peter Jackson is kind of like a suit supply, but probably not necessarily to the same price point level as suit supply, but really good value. They've got outlets. The way they design their suits, I think, is pretty good. They're basics, like, the lapels are proper size. They're not too skinny. They have a great collection of ties. The shirts are really good. Like, I use their 37. It fits me really good. But one thing I'd recommend is when getting your charcoal suit, make sure it's at least a Super 100, which is a fine or gradeness to the wool in terms of how it's spun. So ask the shop assistant for that information and say, is this suit, this charcoal one you're selling me, a Super 100s at least? It can be more, but obviously that price will go up. But a Super 100, you'll be able to thrash like I have, and it'll just keep coming back and back and back. So there was that, and I even tried to try find the pants if they still made the same exact shade of charcoal, but unfortunately they didn't. So I kind of have to retire the suit, so to speak. But from an investment of, I think at the time I think I got 2 suits for $750. So make that, what, $375. And I had it for 4 years, and it basically almost pretty much doubled my income. Obviously, a huge part of that was me getting better at the job, me learning how to conduct myself in a professional corporate manner, seeking to challenge myself, preparing for the job interview. But in terms of as a whole, I think this is probably one of the biggest credits I could say from a hack point of view, in terms of how important that was to get that. And I guess I want to kind of lead with one thing before the suit actually kind of carked itself, and I kind of had to retire it. So this is actually really interesting. The final transformation was actually one of my own physically. See, the thing is, from January to about now, and continuing onwards, I've kind of used resistance bands to do a push-pull routine to develop my upper body a little bit more. And I noticed that when I kind of got more or put more sets and rounds and over time, I could really see the benefits of the added definition to my upper body and how much that actually translated for me filling out the suit in a better way in terms of like the arms and chest. Whereas before, like the suit didn't quite flow as great because obviously I was a bit more scrawny, but kind of the final gift I think I was really grateful for was that I could kind of embody the suit to its fullest potential. And that kind of made me feel like really quite, it was like a catharsis almost, even though the suit was pretty much like dead. Before that had kind of happened, I was able to kind of really do the suit justice and really look my absolute best in it. And that's kind of what I want to share with you as well. Like a suit is great. As much as you can, you want to be in shape as well. You want to be really fit, even, incorporating some resistance training in terms of like, pushing weights, going to the gym. You don't have the time for that. I've got some resistance bands. I've got a workout made and I just followed that. And I think I've done about each push-pull workout about 15 times. So the point is, it takes time, it builds, but I guess what I want to end with is to conquer the mountain and conquer the life, I guess in the sense of conquering the corporate world, a lot of it is mentality, and to have that confidence and that sense that the imposter syndrome will not overwhelm you or give you the edge you need when you're applying for an interview, you're doing your job, you're speaking with others that are a bit more senior than you. Having a suit and having that sign of respect really helps you to really conquer how you come across and being really respectful. And I think that really aids you in the long run, even though at the start you might find it uncomfortable, the tie might be too tight, the suit might feel a bit funny. But the more you wear it, the more natural and part of your skin it will be, like a second skin in a suit of armor. So that's why I wanted to share with you kind of how to conquer the mountain and conquer life. Now, I'd also like to share that if you actually do want to conquer the mountain and conquer life, I thank you for listening for this long. There's now a link below that I've basically, crystallized all my learnings of, riding to work for about 6-7 years, using a bike as the main form of exercise and using it to literally, conquer mountains, is kind of crystallized into a, 4 parts ebook, which I called Life Cycles, My Guide to Fitness Mastery. It takes you through all of that, how to buy a bike, the bike to buy, how to get everything you need to get started, helmet, safety, lights, how to train on the bike, how to train off the bike, how to eat on the bike, off the bike, recovery, cleaning tips, tricks, how to save money, how to buy the right cycling clothing, what you need, what you don't, how to save so much money on your first bike. All this is incorporated within the link below. So if you'd like to support me and kind of want to conquer, your own life more like literally and kind of save a lot of money to invest in a good suit, then this is something that I feel can really help you to achieve that. So thank you very much. Conquer mountains, conquer life.